I came here last week to sketch it out, and hopefully you found the first part video helpful and insightful into how I work and how I make sure I'm striving for the hyper-realistic origami that I'm painting. The great thing about painting here is that London Calling blog allowed me to store my paint over the week at his place, and also I have an access to a ladder, so I don't need to drag it at all. Where's the ladder? Here's the ladder. Without much further ado, let's get going. Right, so the first wing is done, and this is the most difficult part of the mural in terms of access, so I'm glad I'm done with it. Now I'm going to spend the next 2 hours on finishing this crane. It took me 1 hour longer than expected, which means to be speed painting the second origami crane. This one has less surface to paint, but it's very confusing because of all these lines. By the way, have you figured out what I'm painting? Do you know what? At this point, I think I forgot whether I said, let's go to the folding station and see what's creasing. Have I? Have I done this part or not? I'm not sure. Right, so I just finished the second crane. Took me like 2 hours to paint it. The biggest challenge of painting this crane is that I need to bear in mind that over it I'm going to paint plastic. So the crane mustn't be too bright, otherwise you won't see the lines and the reflections and the highlights on the plastic. So hopefully it's not too light. So this car park is closing in an hour. So for the remainder of the time here, I'll speed paint this fat cap. Again, it's behind plastic and with reflections, so it doesn't need to be super tight. Right, so this is what an hour gives you. I would say it's a jolly good fat cap. The perspective is right. So far, this is looking really good. The first day of painting done. I was actually hoping I would have finished the second fat cap as well. So it looks like tomorrow is going to be a very stressful day because on Sundays, this car park finishes at 4. It's Sunday and we are back on the rooftop. It actually took us 2 hours to get in here. This was supposed to be open at 7 a.m. It's 10 a.m. So I'm starting with a much delay. So first thing this morning, I'm going to tidy up the cranes and add the polka dots pattern because I folded it out of polka dots paper. Let's jump to it. I've added the polka dot patterns and then I dusted it with corresponding reference colors so that they're a bit hidden. I would say only now I'm halfway through the piece, right? Because I really want to spend the time on the bag and I don't want to rush it whatsoever because it's such a nice piece. actually almost 3 hours that I spent on this second fat cap. The challenge was these elements, you know, at an angle. Was it worth it? An hour and a bit on the top, because I've worked on the top cap as well. Well, and I still need to paint it over, so it's behind plastic. Hopefully it's not too bright. So that's the key thing that I'm worried about. Right, I've tidied it up. Now to the next section. Have you realized already what that thing at the top is? And for the next stage, I'm using a stencil. So I just finished the tape above the zip bag. Yeah, for the first time I'm saying what it is. I've painted this concept before. It's a zip bag stuck to the wall with a black duct tape. They're closing the car park in 15 minutes, which means I have to wait 3 weeks to finish it off as I'm flying to Poland in 2 days' time. And the great thing about this whole space is that it's curated by London Calling blog, which means nobody is able to access this rooftop and nobody is going to paint it over, or even what's more important, nobody will photograph not finished piece and post it on social media. Anyway, I'm off to Poland. See you in 3 weeks' time. So I'm back. As you can see, there's been changes here on the rooftop in Penge, and it's been 3 weeks since the last time I visited here. So in between, I went to Poland for my birthday for 2 weeks, 2 weekends, and then also I painted a mural in Stratford, also organized by London Calling blog. So today it's the 4th day that I'm working on this mural. Right, this must be so far my favorite detail, a very faint shadow from semi-transparent strings of a bag. As far as attention to details, I need help. I'm sick in the head. Right, so I'm done with the most tricky part of the zip bag. This must be even too much for myself. 3 sources of light over semi-transparent strings. That was tricky. This is transparency porn. Plastic and paper transparency porn. As I said, I'm sick in the head. This duct tape. I think it might be still confusing for people who don't know what it is, but with the method you've just seen of fingerprinting and adding just highlights in the grooves, I think it looks more like a duct tape. What do you think? Does it look like a duct tape? Comment down below. Okay, I'm done here. Let's tidy up for the background and the drop shadow, and that's that. So the zippy bag is finished. I'm quite not sure how many days I spent here. I lost the count, but this is definitely the highlight of the summer. You know, when you have opportunity to spend some time on a rooftop in London, you need to take your time. I'm really proud of those strings over here, transparent plastic. I think I'm nailing it. You know, this is quite hyper-realistic, and this video, part 2, ties with part 1 in a way that you saw how much time I spent to prep work, to do the grid. Shout out to London Calling blog, to Stephen for helping me out from the day dot on this piece and having me here on the rooftop. As far as the composition of this piece is, I really wanted this crane to be kind of breaking away from the zippy bag and flying out of this corner. The balance is really well distributed, and I spent time so that the top tip of the wing is directly pointing to this, you know, corner. So you can see, as far as the balance of this piece, I'm very, very happy with it. You know, I think this video is a testimony how spending time on the sketch and going back and forth between what you painted on a given day and comparing it with a reference as seen in the first video, part 1. So I think you see the value of it, because everything is work here, and this is like exactly how I envisioned it in the first place. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Check the part 1. Anyhow, my name is Airborne Mike. Mike check 1 2 1 2. Anyhow, my name is Airborne Mark. I'm passionate about painting paper and plastic, paper texture and transparency, and as always, origami riots, folding all day, every day, and I'm out.